We're going to start a new chapter book called The Polar Bear Patrol. This will help you out a little bit in some of the projects that are coming up. I'm going to read one chapter one day, and Mrs. Moore is going to read the chapter the next day, and you can choose whether you would like to write your response sentence in your response journal about this story or about the story, The Incredible Journey, that Mr. McCorkindale is reading. So here we go. The Polar Bear Patrol, Chapter 1. Oh, it's freezing in this classroom, Phoebe said with a shiver. It feels like the North Pole. I was shivering too, but I thought it was just my imagination. I was looking at pictures of the Arctic on the internet. The Arctic is a region that includes the icy Arctic Ocean and the regions surrounding it. Our class was studying Arctic animals, and I needed facts about polar bear babies. Fast. Phoebe, if you're cold, you can use my blubber experiment, Ralphie offered. He was doing a project about blubber. It's what keeps lots of Arctic animals warm. Miss Frizzle, Dorothy Ann said, I think I know why it's so cold. Somebody turned on the air conditioner, and I'll bet I know who did it. Our eyes followed D.A.'s gaze across the room to Arnold. He had pushed his desk close to the air conditioner. On top of the desk was his igloo project. Ice cubes were melting all over his desk. But I had to do something, Arnold said. My project was turning into a puddle. Well, that explains why we don't live in igloos around here, the Frizz said. She walked over to the air conditioner and shut it off. Of course, building an igloo is a good way for people to stay warm if they live in the Arctic. How do I make an igloo that won't melt? I guess it's back to the drawing board for me, Arnold sighed. How do those Arctic animals stay warm without igloos? Wanda asked. Well, according to my research, Dorothy Ann said, most Arctic animals have adapted to the freezing weather, like growing blubber under their skin, Ralphie said. That's how seals stay warm. Or having thick fur and living underground, Carlos said. That's how lemmings stay warm. Watch out, I'm coming through, Arnold said. My igloo has turned into slush. Arnold picked up his project and dumped it into the sink. Don't worry, Arnold, Miss Frizzle said. You'll figure it out by tomorrow. Tomorrow? That's when our Arctic projects had to be done. My project was on the polar bear and my research was going great, except for one little problem. I couldn't find facts about polar bear babies. Miss Frizzle, Keisha said, I think there's an animal missing in the polar baby parade. Uh-oh. It was my animal that was missing. No polar baby parade would be complete without a polar baby bear. Miss Frizzle walked over to Keisha. She was staring at a wall of the classroom that was covered with pictures of baby animals that lived in the Arctic. They were lined up in a cute little parade. Each animal had facts about it written underneath its picture. Let me see, Miss Frizzle said, checking out the animals. Here's a baby Arctic fox. And a young muskox, and a little caribou, and a teeny lemming, and a baby seal. All of a sudden she stopped, walking along the parade of baby animals. It's Tim's animal that's missing, the Frizz said. She gave me a surprised look. But don't worry, Keisha, I'm sure that everyone will get their project done on time. I groaned. I could barely believe my baby polar bear was missing. I always like to be the first one done with a project. I walked over to Miss Frizzle and whispered in a low voice so Keisha couldn't hear. Miss Frizzle, the books in the library didn't have a thing about polar bear babies, I said. I checked out every one, I explained. Now I'm trying to find information on the internet. I have found lots of cool facts about polar bears, but nothing about their babies. Well, someone had better hurry up, Keisha said, or one baby is going to miss the parade. I sighed under my breath and I stared at the computer screen. My baby wasn't going to miss the parade. The polar bear was the king of the north. I'd make sure the polar bear baby was at the head of the parade. Miss Frizzle writes a little note here that says, what's in a name? The word polar comes from the word pole. The polar bear got its name because it lives near the North Pole. There's a little picture at the top of the page that shows the polar bear baby parade. Just then, I found what I was looking for, the website of the Polar Bear Research Station. I clicked on the picture of a mother polar bear with 2 cubs, and did I luck out. Miss Frizzle, a scientist at the Polar Bear Research Station, has an online chat right now. Can I ask him a question? I asked. The Frizz leaned over my shoulder to check out the website. She saw the scientist's name, Luke Igulik. A big grin spread over her face. Go right ahead, Tim, she said. I typed in my first question. What time of year do polar bear babies come out of their dens? Seconds later, I got an answer. In the spring, about 4 or 5 months after they are born. I typed in my second question. How many babies does a mother have at one time? The answer came right back. A polar bear mother has from 1 to 4 babies. Usually there are 2 bears in a litter. Then Miss Frizzle leaned over my shoulder and typed in a message. Hi, Luke. Remember me? Valerie Frizzle. Couldn't believe it. Miss Frizzle even knew a scientist in the Arctic. A message came right back. Do I remember you? How could I forget? You always drove that yellow motorcycle in college. I hear you drive a wild school bus now. Why don't you come up for a visit? Miss Frizzle chuckled. Tim, she said, would you like to find out about polar bear babies in person? Wow, I said, how cool would that be? Very cool, Tim, the Frizz said. Like 50 degrees below zero? Miss Frizzle typed in a message. We're on our way, Lou. See you there. Luke wrote back. Will do, Caribou. Miss Frizzle didn't waste a minute. She jumped up and ran to the supply closet. A few minutes later, she came out in the strangest outfit ever. The Frizz had on a blue parka and pants covered with polar bears. Just before chapter 2, for tomorrow, there's a little note here, almost like a mini report that says, Cool Clothes for the Cold by Keisha. The first parkas were made of pieces of reindeer skin sewn together. The reindeer hide was worn on the outside, the soft fur worn on the inside for warmth. A parka has a hood because lots of body heat is lost through the head. Tomorrow, Mrs. Moore is going to read chapter 2.